I found a crypto device that is super early, could earn you thousands of dollars, and carries only a very, very small amount of risk. The project behind the device I'm talking about already has real clients and a realistic vision for the future, both of which are pretty rare in this space. Today, I'm going deep with a project called DeEEP and its new plug-and-play miner, the DeEEP device. How deep? Well, deep with 3 E's, deep. I'll tell you what the project is doing, how the device works, how much it could earn, how to buy one, and I'll explain why, even in the worst case scenario, the DeEEP device won't be a wasted investment. So, what is DeEEP? Well, DeEEP lets people earn by providing cloud computing and hosting. In other words, DeEEP is building a decentralized cloud hosting platform. The goal is to compete with the big centralized cloud providers like Amazon, AWS, and Google Cloud, but to do it through a network of community-run devices instead of massive data centers. In reality, DeEEP doesn't even need to compete. If they even just get a slice of that massive pie, they will win. Well, the DeEEP network is being launched by a team including folks from NerdNode, a company that has already been running thousands of Web3 nodes on their own hardware. And this is important. They're not starting from scratch. They have an existing business with paying customers who pay monthly fees to host nodes on the NerdNode servers. And that means there's already real demand and revenue behind this project. They're essentially taking an existing successful node hosting business and decentralizing it through the DeEEP network. And this gives DeEEP a huge advantage from day one. There are workloads like blockchain nodes, validator nodes, etc., already being hosted on DeEEP devices. In fact, the team has said that they plan to move all of those workloads off of NerdNode's private servers and onto the DeEEP network over time. And what is this device that I keep talking about that's going to handle all of those workloads? Well, it's a plug-and-play hardware node. It's a powerful mini computer that you can run in your home or office or wherever to contribute to the network. It's basically a Minisforum MS01, which is a super cool mini computer that I actually wanted to buy before I even learned about DeEEP. In terms of hardware specifications, it boasts an Intel Core i9 processor. It also has 32 gigabytes of RAM and a 1 terabyte NVMe solid-state drive. And it has 2 extra M.2 NVMe slots, and it also has 2 2.5 gigabit Ethernet ports. And on top of that, it has an additional 2 10 gigabit SFP ports and even a PCIe Express expansion slot inside that tiny little chassis. So it's a really, really capable and also really, really small computer that runs custom software from DeEEP. DeEEP uses strict workload isolation and attestation to ensure top-tier security. And in plain English, that means that if someone could access your device physically, they shouldn't be able to mess with the workloads. It's enterprise-level security in a very small box. And it's designed so that you can just set it and forget it. Like, it's really, really easy to set up, and I'll share more about the requirements in just a bit. Now, DeEEP has limited the initial rollout of these devices to 1,776 units called the Founders DeEEP devices during the testnet phase. And why 1,776? Well, I'm guessing that my US viewers will know why they're called Founders nodes for a reason. The first batch of these devices shipped in October of 2024, a second batch sold out right after, and now the final batch is up for sale. After these 1,776 units, the plan is to pause sales until the network usage grows significantly. They want demand first, then supply. So if you're interested in this, time is running out. Now, a device that costs $1,101 isn't cheap, so how much can you make with it? Well, there's 2 ways to earning DeEEP tokens and hosting revenue. During the current testnet phase, devices earn testnet tokens that will convert into DeEEP mainnet tokens at a conversion rate that will be announced by the team. For the initial batch of 1,776 Founders devices, the team has indicated that each device could earn on the order of 120,000 DeEEP plugin rewards tokens and 72,000 DeEEP utilization rewards tokens over time during the early phase. And plugin rewards are basically a bonus for early adopters. The first 50,000 devices in the network will receive these as a way to bootstrap the community. Utilization rewards are ongoing and tied to the actual work your device does. As the network runs workloads, i.e. hosts various nodes and services, it mints tokens proportional to that activity and distributes them evenly across all active devices. The maximum supply is just under 84 billion tokens. This allows for up to 1 million devices at the current utilization rewards rate. However, the max supply for the first 1,776 devices will only be 669 million DeEEP tokens. The max supply for the first 50,000 devices will be just over 7 billion DeEEP tokens. This means in practice, the token supply will be much lower, at least for these founders devices. The second and potentially more lucrative income stream is hosting revenue. The DeEEP network will charge clients, this is dApp developers, projects, or anyone who wants to run a node or a service, for hosting their workloads on the network. And up to 70% of the hosting fees go to device operators. Essentially, if someone pays DeEEP to run an Ethereum node or a game server, up to 70% of that payment is distributed to the people running it. The DeEEP website gives an example scenario, which is a combination of popular nodes like an ETH validator or Myria blockchain nodes, various Gala Games nodes, and others that all together would generate about $5,580 per year in hosting fees. And if your device hosted those, your share at 50% in that example that they've given would be roughly $2,790 a year. This example is a hypothetical and doesn't even include the additional DeEEP token rewards on top, but it might give you an idea of what's possible. Regardless, if the network achieves those numbers, it suggests that the device could potentially pay for itself in less than a year. And this is huge because it means you're not solely relying on the speculative value of tokens. You'll be earning a cut of the real ongoing business. As for how much you can potentially earn from DeEEP tokens, well, that's tough since the project is still in testnet and the token isn't trading yet, and the actual earnings will depend on network usage. But assuming there are around 670 million tokens max supply for the founders' devices, and if it gets to Helium's current market cap of just under $600 million, then each DeEEP token could be worth around 90 cents on the high end, at least for the founders edition. But even if we assume it just gets to something like GeoNet's market cap at $80 million, that would mean each token would be around 10 cents. Again, at least for the initial 1.7K devices. So if the DeEEP token eventually were, say, 10 cents, and you earned 192,000 tokens, which is plug-in plus utilization rewards over that first year, well, that would be $19,200 in total value. And even if the token was only 1 cent, that's $1,920 for that year, which is still awesome. And again, these numbers are all speculative, and the actual token value could be much higher or lower. And keep in mind, these are on top of the potential hosting rewards, which could be very lucrative by themselves. To unlock its full earning potential, each device requires a dedicated public IP address, the ability to open all ports for the device or run it in DMZ mode, and a robust network connection, specifically 100 megabits per second download and 20 megabits per second upload. And I will link to some of that stuff down below, including a more advanced setup option, which is still fairly easy to do as long as you follow their documentation. As for power consumption, similar mini PCs can draw anywhere from 10 to 15 watts at idle to 50 plus watts under load. Depending on your local power rates, this might be a few dollars a month in cost, up to maybe 10 to 15 bucks a month in electricity. So if all that sounds good, how do you buy a DeEEP device? Well, Helium Deploy, which is linked down below, is running the limited sale of the Founders Edition units. The device is $1,101 and comes in variants for different regions due to power adapter and certification differences that you can select while you're purchasing. There's also no KYC requirements for DeEEP, which is great news. Another little bit of info that might sweeten this deal is if you buy the device from Helium Deploy, you get a license for their DePIN tracker for free, which is a $250 value. And you can use Helium Deploy's DePIN tracker to track many devices, such as GeoNet, Wingbits, and many more, and DeEEP. As per Helium Deploy, deliveries are expected for May of 2025. However, the DeEEP team is trying to ship them even sooner. Just keep in mind that this is the final batch. Once these are sold, they will not release any more units until the network truly needs them. Now, I do think this is a great potential opportunity, but it's not risk-free, so let's talk about that. DeEEP is brand new and still in its testnet phase. While the team has a solid background and an existing business feeding into it, there's always the risk that things could take longer than expected or encounter technical issues. Bugs or delays in mainnet launch could happen. And early adopters are essentially pioneers. There's huge potential upside, but there's also the possibility that the project just doesn't ever gain traction. And the device costs $1,101, which is not a small amount of money. The return on investment is not guaranteed or immediate, most likely. You might be looking at many months before earning back that equivalent value in tokens plus fees. Plus, crypto is volatile, so the future value of DeEEP tokens you earn is completely unknown. Only invest if you're financially comfortable with the possibility that it might take a long time to break even, and there's always a non-zero chance the value could drop just like any other crypto project. On the flip side though, it could also exceed expectations and make a ton of money. Who knows? Plus, DeEEP is not alone in wanting to decentralize cloud services. There's a bunch of other competing platforms out there that could end up beating them or getting more traction than they do. That said, I think it's super important to talk about a unique risk mitigation factor, which is the device itself. Unlike specialized miners or devices like ASICs or helium hotspots that have limited reuse potential, the DeEEP device is just a normal computer running their custom software. So, in a world where DeEEP didn't work out the way I hope and others hope it will, then you can just take the device and install whatever OS you want on it. You can turn it into a home lab server, a media streaming center, a mini NAS, a personal web server, or even use it as a mini gaming PC if you stick a low-profile GPU in it with that PCIe slot. It's really very capable hardware. And this massively lowers the downside risk, especially when you consider the $800 price tag of the computer itself if you're just buying it, not going through DeEEP. So if DeEEP went away, you'd only actually be losing about $300 after the cost of the computer is factored in. And I'd take that bet any day of the week. So with that in mind, if you also think this idea has potential, well then now is the time to act. The Helium Deploy final batch sale for the DeEEP device is live right now, but again, there's only a limited number left. The main takeaway here is that useful devices powering a DePIN network can be a huge opportunity. And you can find two more great DePIN opportunities here and here. Both are devices that could have massive rewards if you get in early before the entire market takes off and takes the token prices up with it. Goodbye.